Good morning. Everybody hear me okay? Lots of heads nodding, people waking up. So I also want to extend my appreciation for you coming out on a Saturday, especially when the weather's like this. To me, it shows your dedication and commitment to making a difference and improving things. But I'm just going to follow up on Darren's safety comments on exits, etc. So we've got a lot of stairs in this building, concrete stairs, sharp edges, and you'll see that there are some handrails. And I say that because, you know, within the industry, we see that slips, trips, and falls from elevation are one of the number one mechanisms of injury. But it doesn't only extend to our workplace, but it extends into our homes. And, you know, I'll revisit something just to reformulate and keep that in mind with your families. Is 2 weeks ago today, I had a friend who was hosting a party for her husband that was retiring, and on her way coming down from the stairs, checking on her grandchildren, fell and struck her head and subsequently passed away. So keep that in mind. It doesn't happen. 2-point contact will avoid those things. So I just encourage you, so if somebody taps you on the shoulder, don't take that as somebody's calling you out. Take it as they're looking after you and want to avoid certain similar things. So on that front, I want to say that 2017 marks the council's 10th anniversary, just after 10 years. And from my perspective, I've been in this role now for just over a year, and some interesting observations that I have. Industry is doing a lot of good things. I've been with the organization for just over 7 years, and when I came into the organization, I would say the feeling of the organization from industry and my meeting with licensees and contractors was that it was an organization that felt that it was doing something to industry rather than for industry. And after, I'd say over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had some changes, and I can honestly say now the effectiveness of this organization is driven by industry is leading the efforts. And we're doing that through a number of ways. We've got 11 different advisory groups that consist of industry people, operational level, who are identifying the issues with us providing that information in the background to address issues. And you've got the Transportation Advisory Group here in the Central Interior in Prince George. We probably have some members in the room today. We've got the Coast Harvest Advisory Group. And these groups are producing resources. These resources are readily available on the website. And you're going to see things such as roadside debris, phase congestion, and other things that are aimed at how we can reduce our serious injuries and fatalities. And if you look at our injury and fatality record, I would say over the last 10 years, we've seen some positive progress as far as reductions. And although we're seeing some incremental changes, I would say that my observations over the last year is we can accelerate them. And I think we've taken the low-hanging fruit, and essentially it's going to be working on how effectively we change that culture. And I know today is focused on building strong supervisors, and as Darren alluded to, supervisors play a significant role. You know, it's a difficult job because you're getting it both from the top, and then you're also trying to please the employees and get the work done at the bottom. And the effective supervisor can have a significant change within that. And I'd say to improve our safety record is going to result in a permanent change of culture. And to do that, we need to fundamentally change people's beliefs. And that starts with senior leadership, and it starts with the supervisor. Ivan Pupoliti from the U.S. Forestry Service used a very simple way to describe culture. He said culture is essentially the practices underlined by the values and anchored by the beliefs. And Ivan used a very simple model of a buoy in a body of water, with the practices floating above at the top, the chain being the values, and the anchor being the beliefs. And that we can push on those practices by things as required by regulation and penalties and rules, but that push is only there until we change the values and beliefs. And to do that, we need to change the culture. And follow up on that, we did some benchmarking with DuPont, and DuPont, within their findings, shared some information with us, and that was 95% of injuries are caused by behavior, and 85% of that behavior is driven by what employees believe leadership communicates as to what's required to make the business successful. And that's not just based on what we see as far as the written mission, values, statements. It's leadership's actions in what is said, what isn't said, what is communicated, what isn't communicated. Are the rules being followed, i.e. as a supervisor, as a leader, are they speeding, are they wearing their PPE? And at the end of the day, it's these unintended signals that will essentially formulate people's beliefs. And until such time as we can all act ourselves in those common and consistent beliefs, the culture will not change. So my message today is you're going to hear from a lot of different speakers who are probably going to challenge your minds and your thoughts on this. And for the supervisors in the room, I would just like to, first of all, thank you for stepping up into that role. It is a difficult role, but the effective supervisor collectively is going to make the difference to also changing this culture with the support of senior leadership. And one of the other things I would say on top of that is, I think the work that I described earlier that is occurring with the various advisory groups is good. There's a lot of it going on. But I think as an industry, and this is something that I'll be working with our board of directors and the senior leaders, is we need to pick out a couple of 2 or 3 issues that are going to move this dial to reduce the serious injuries and fatalities. And historically, if you talk to a supervisor who's experienced a fatality on the crew or who've had a tragic event in industry, those are typically the events that tend to cause that change to take place. And I know as human nature, it's difficult to establish that and make those moves before you have that tragic event. So in that mindset today, keep in mind as far as what you're going to take in, that if we can do these things up front and work with our crews, lead by example, by demonstrated leadership, that we're going to have a lot safer workplace. So thank you and enjoy the day.